Welcome to Book Banter with me, your host, Dianne Burckhardt. I hope you will join me every Wednesday as we explore all things to do with, well, books. Let's get on with our show today. Hello, my happy people. Today is August 6, 2025. And as always, I have an amazing show for you today. We have got a fantastic memoir author for you. I was so looking forward to speaking with this woman because I knew we were going to have so much in common. Even though our neurological conditions are very different, there's still that human aspect of whenever you're finding yourself facing such incredible life-threatening situations, you do tend to go through the same emotions, even if the circumstances are different. And I was not wrong. We connected on so many levels, and her story is absolutely amazing, and I am thrilled that I get to bring this to you. Please be sure to take note of her book, The Road Unpaved, Border to Border with a Brain Tumor and a Bike. You are going to want to read this story. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get on to the interview. Please welcome to Book Banter with Dianne Burckhardt, Risa August. If you have heard any of our shows, you know we always start out with our guests telling everybody who they are and what they do.
My name is Risa August. I am based in Colorado, and I am an award-winning author, speaker, Gestalt practitioner, and patient advocate.
That was actually one of the things that I wanted to talk about since you have that in your opening there. Can you explain what a Gestalt practitioner does?
Yes, so Gestalt is a German word that loosely means wholeness. And the modality of Gestalt is more of a holistic approach to therapy. It's very experiential and non-traditional, and it's really hard to put into words. But it's extremely coactive, and I can't tell you what you're going to get out of it because my job as your Gestalt guide is to ask you potent questions that helps you get to what is at the root of where you're at
Mm-hmm.
in your life in the present moment. So that's a very ungraceful way of describing it.
Well, I tell you, I have learned over the years that sometimes somebody asking the right question can open up so much for you that you didn't even think about.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Now, of course, we're going to be talking about your book, The Road Unpaved, Border to Border with a Brain Tumor and a Bike. And this book has won numerous awards.
Yes, I actually just won my sixth one through the Independent Author Academy, the William Shakespeare
Oh,
Award.
nice.
Yes, it's been fun. I had no idea. I had no idea I would win awards and get that far.
Well, especially since you didn't start out your career as a writer.
Correct. Yes. I was actually very much an environmentalist. I was working for the US government, the USDA, in the Natural Resources Conservation Department. And I always journaled, but I never saw myself as a writer. I don't even remember liking English classes. I had this professor that would get so upset about commas versus semicolons. So I don't know if I have some kind of trauma from that or what, but I never really liked writing so much. And I guess I didn't ever consider my journaling as writing.
And you're also quite the athlete. How many Ironman competitions did you actually compete in?
Yes, I actually only completed two full Ironman races, but I can't even count how many triathlons I've raced in of varying distances and bicycle tours and endurance events. and there was lots of CrossFit and weightlifting thrown in there as well. I was very much a bit extreme on the fitness side of things.
Well, didn't you happen to mention that you have a tendency towards perfection?
Yes, yes, very much so.
Did that
Um,
carry over into all of your activities with work and with sports?
yes, definitely. I was extremely rigid. I prided myself in being detail oriented and extremely organized. I could remember where you dropped the penny on the floor 2 weeks
Mhm.
ago. Like it was this extreme, like detailed and very observational way of living. Like I remembered things, I had things organized, and all my ducks were always in a row.
How did that work while you were married? I mean, because I know a lot of people, whenever they're married to a perfectionist, it can cause problems.
Yes, wow, that's a great question. In some ways, my husband at the time he was pretty organized and detailed himself, but on the flip side of that, he often felt like no matter what he did it was never enough. And he'd go do something and I'd come up behind him and fix it, that kind of thing. And so even when he tried, probably in some way it didn't meet my standards.
Yeah. You had this like perfect life. You were married, you had a good job, but what happened?
My gosh, let me back up about 7 years prior to what happened. I started noticing changes in my body I couldn't explain. I felt very into being a detailed person. I felt very in tune with my body. I paid attention to everything, and things just weren't adding up. I think my husband and the people around me thought I was a bit crazy, maybe a hypochondriac or making things up that
Hmm.
weren't really there. Fast forward 7 years, and finally, I was diagnosed with a tumor at the base of my brain. And it came with a very rare, well, I wouldn't say rare, it's believed to not be rare, but a very destructive disease. And so, as if the tumor wasn't enough, it came with something pretty gnarly.
By that time when you got your diagnosis, how many times do you think you had gone to the doctor to complain about not feeling right and were dismissed with you're getting older, it must be, perimenopause, or you're just imagining it, you want drugs, you want attention. How many
Oh
times were
my
you
gosh.
dismissed?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question. Yeah, I was someone who actually never went to the doctor. I didn't even take ibuprofen for a headache. And closer to 2018, when I was diagnosed, I was going, seems like every other month or multiple times throughout the year leading up to that diagnosis. And you know how the medical field now has these online portals. So I'd
Mhm.
be either emailing my doctor or calling to get in. And I kept being told, your blood work's fine, or you're an athlete. I'm not worried. And yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I can't count. I have no idea, but I know it was a lot. It felt like a lot.
Whenever you got your diagnosis finally, as devastating as it was there a part of you that was relieved that now you knew?
Oh my goodness. It was big relief. It was big relief because one, still wasn't clear on what I was in for,
Hmm.
like what was ahead of me. So I was like, oh, finally, like I knew it. Like it was this huge validation. And now I was like, okay, now we can just get it taken care of so I can move on with my life. Like that was the mentality I had.
So, whenever you were getting ready to go in for your brain surgery, how did you prepare for that? Had you ever even had a major surgery before?
Uh, I wouldn't say major, nothing like brain surgery,
Yeah.
that's for sure. I've had some minor surgeries before then, but there's something surreal about it.
Mhm.
I don't know if I was somehow disassociating and it was kind of happening to someone outside of me.
Mhm.
Um, but then I also, there was so many people around me kind of pulling together. So I was almost open to trying anything, like suddenly I'm calling in Archangel Michael
Mhm.
and I have this more spiritual awareness and and then there's the moments where you're actually drafting your will and making sure all those kind of logistics are taken care of just in case.
Yeah.
So it's surreal. And then there's that part of me is like, okay, well, I'll just be done with this and then I can move on and it's all
Mhm.
going to be fine. So it was a mix of things.
Yeah, it always seems like it's kind of an emotional high wire act where you're like, okay, I'm gonna come through, it's gonna be fine. We're gonna go on after this, do rehab, whatever I have to do to get back to my life. But then you have to sit there, okay, do I want a casket? Do I want to be cremated? Who do I want coming to my funeral if it happens? I mean, you're preparing for the worst and praying for the best, but it's kind of like you feel that need to take care of all of that before you go in. And I would imagine if you're a perfectionist, that was definitely going to be something that you were looking at trying to get everything possible nailed down before you went in.
Yes, absolutely. Even at 5 in the morning when I arrived at the hospital the morning of my surgery, my boss actually came to be there for me and support. And I handed her a stack of paperwork that I wanted to make sure she had before I went in that morning.
That is more perfectionist than I have ever been. So now you're getting ready for your surgery. Was it just one brain surgery or were there complications that came after?
Fortunately, so far, it was just one brain surgery. These tumors do often grow back. Many people go on to have multiple surgeries. I had some minor complications. I was in ICU for 10 days. Now typically you're for surgery like this without complications, you're in for maybe 2 nights.
Hmm.
And I was in for 10. And part of my pituitary was damaged during the surgery. And it's the part that regulates thirst. So water input and then urination, like output.
Hmm.
And and that might not sound like a big deal, but it's actually very dangerous. And where it becomes dangerous is it messes with your sodium levels. So if you're not careful, you can stroke very easily. So they had to see if that corrected itself or get it regulated before I could leave the hospital. So yes, we finally got it regulated and I was able to leave 10 days later.
Now, I've actually read this in your book, but our listeners may not know this. So I was waiting to ask, I know a lot of times when somebody has a major health crisis like this, it can often put a strain on relationships. How did this affect yours?
Yes, it's a great question. As far as my marriage went, it my marriage to my husband started dissolving, I'd say about a year or two prior to my diagnosis. But it was the diagnosis that forced me to start reflecting on my life, my relationships, where I was at in my life, what I wanted to do with my life, what I wanted from life. And going through the diagnosis and the treatments and all that, I started noticing what was missing from my life and from my relationships and then more specifically from my marriage. So in some ways it impacted my marriage, but probably not necessarily in the manner that most people would think of. I just started looking at the world a lot differently following my diagnosis and started realizing what I truly wanted.
After you survived the surgery, How was your recovery? Was it easier than you expected? Was it more difficult? Did you have the support that you needed?
I felt very alone in my recovery and healing. I had positive people around me and encouraging people around me, but I'm sure many people who have gone through some kind of trauma, disease, or illness might understand that it can be a very lonely place.
Mhm.
It's hard for people to truly understand what someone is going through, and I was a completely different person post surgery and post treatment. My body wasn't functioning the same, my brain wasn't functioning the same, but people saw me as the same person.
Mhm.
And it was extremely frustrating to try to stay in that place of, okay, I just need them to continue to see me as who I always was, but also knowing I will never be that person again.
Considering that you were such a perfectionist, do you think that whenever people would ask you, "Hey, do you need help? Do you want me to do this for you?" that you still had that bit of that perfectionism that you're like, "No, I can do it myself.
Yes.
I will be the one
Yes.
taking care of me." Thank you, but was
Yes.
it hard for you to let people step in and help you?
It was very much. And I was really in this battle of wanting to do it myself to prove to everyone and myself that nothing's changed. I'm the same person. I'm actually going to be better than I was before.
Mhm.
And this other battle of feeling exhausted, things not measuring up the way they used to, like with my memory and cognition, and kind of going through this struggle by myself, not wanting to really reveal it, but wanting people to understand it.
Mhm.
It was really an internal battle for me.
And just wanting somebody to come up and just hug you and say, "It's gonna be okay,"
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
be there with you.
Hmm.
Now, do you think all these years later that you feel confident in saying you have recovered?
No, not at all. I'm actually, facing the progression of my disease and, still living with partial tumor. And it's interesting that this is coming up in our conversation because I think there's a part of me that wants to deny that. I want to resist that. Like, no, I did conquer it.
Mhm.
And and life is good and I'm doing awesome and I'm doing better than I was. And but to be transparent, none of that's true. I'm really facing some of the challenges that come with this diagnosis over time.
Do you still consider yourself a perfectionist, or has this altered your personality?
This has definitely altered my personality, and I love it.
Mhm.
It's so freeing to let go of the perfectionism. And I'm not going to say that I'm not still particular in some places in my life, but yes, I've let that go and really started embracing who I am now and who I want to be and continue to work towards being.
Now, right before you go in for your brain surgery, did you do anything, through a party, celebrate in some way, just in case things went south?
I don't believe I did. I think the people around me didn't really know how to navigate this.
Mhm.
And I didn't either. I really didn't either. I think I wanted to make people believe that I didn't think it was any big deal. Like, well, it ain't no big thing.
Yeah.
So I'll be done and I'll be better.
Is that kind of where the bike ride came in? Trying to prove that you had this handled?
Yes, that was partly my perhaps my celebration of coming through it. And I'm going to show everyone and myself. And I'm also going to embrace life. I'm going to move forward in life differently than I did in the past. And so I went in thinking it was going to be this big soul healing journey just for me. And I had my own plans around it, and I was going to do it my way. And that's not at all really how it panned out.
What made you go ahead and decide to write The Road Unpaved, border to border with a brain tumor and a bike?
Well, when I was diagnosed and following treatment, I remember having that moment, that realization that I would never be the same. My life would never be the same. I would never be the same person. And I became very reflective on life, and something was really shifting in me. So I wanted to live life and live it on my terms. And so I pulled out this bucket list that I had. And one of the items on the bucket list was, write my book. I have been wanting to write a book for decades. And I would start and then stop and then start again and stop. And I just never followed through with it. Now seemed like the time. It was like, now I have the story. Now it's the right time. And so it was truly a bucket list item. And now I had the story to complete it.
Was writing this a little cathartic for you?
It was a love-hate relationship.
I get that.
I bet, yes. It's I could feel all the emotions. I went through all the emotions, kind of recounting my story. But then my perfectionist showed up again, and I kept going over it and over it and revising and revising. And my editor finally took it away from me and said, "Stop, stop. It's good the way it is." And I finally had to let it go and let it be free in the world.
And how has it been received? You've done several public events and you've had all of these awards. How are people responding to you after reading your book?
Oh my gosh, it's beyond. I even feel myself getting emotional over this. It's beyond anything I ever imagined. My stomach was in knots putting this out into the world. And then you start thinking about how is it going to be received? And I remember the first time someone who's not close to me, like a non-family member, a non-friend, someone who was just out in the world who read my book and listed all these things that they took away from it and how profound it felt for them. I started bawling right in front of them. Like I was so overtaken by that, and that my story could touch someone that way. I was in disbelief. And then I was just at a medical conference last week, and someone came up to me. I introduced myself, and they were like, the Risa August, the Risa August that wrote The Road Unpaved. Like, oh my God, she's like, I'm being such a fangirl right now. Like, and she was like so shy. And I was like, what? Like, I was just taken aback because I feel like I'm still me, this
Yeah.
kind of clumsy, awkward person embracing my life the best way I can. And so it's overwhelming, the response. And then I just told you earlier, I just received my sixth award for the book, and been on hundreds of podcasts and interviews, and it's been incredible. I feel emotional. I don't, and again, kind of awkward answering the question.
Everything that you went through, is that part of the reason why you decided to become a patient advocate to help other people navigate this kind of thing?
I became a patient advocate by accident. I remember when I was diagnosed with this disease, which is called acromegaly, and there wasn't, it was hard to find information on it. I remember thinking, gosh, if I'm having this much trouble, because I'm a huge researcher. I love details. So I can get on the internet and scour it top to bottom. And I remember thinking, gosh, if it's hard for me to find information out there, then I can only imagine other people going through this same diagnosis, the trouble they're having. So I thought, well, maybe I'll do this bike ride and I'll wear a jersey that says, check out acromegaly.
Hmm.
And suddenly, a neuroendocrinologist on the West Coast at UCSF caught wind of my story and got me in touch with an organization called Pituitary World News. And then that trickled into pharmaceutical companies around the country. And suddenly people caught wind of this girl with acromegaly is going to ride her bike from Canada to Mexico. And it became a big thing. And then before I knew it, I was thrown in the spotlight of patient advocacy and giving other people facing adversity hope. And I remember the first time someone who just had brain surgery walking up to me and telling me I was an inspiration. And it took me a minute. I was like, wait, what? You like that's something I always say to other people who inspire me, and so it kind of all happened by accident, but now it feels very purposeful.
And when you were actually doing your bike ride from border to border, you were still going through your own processing of your condition, and you're thrown into the spotlight while you're doing that. How did you deal with that?
Uh, well, parts of old Rissa would show up, like the tough girl, and this is what needs to be done, and I'm going to do it. And there was also the new person emerging of like, wait a minute, where are my boundaries? Is this in alignment with me? Is this what I want to do? And then I was still dealing with some of the medical logistics of getting injections and so forth on the ride and dealing with medical professionals with big egos. And so there was a mix of things. And then I also had some personal life challenges going on as well. So I think what kept me going is that the wonderful thing about being on this ride is all I had to do was be present. All I had to do was, and I know I'm minimizing it a little bit, but each day I just had to get on that bike again and pedal.
Yeah. It gave you something different to focus on.
Yes. Yes.
I know that the pituitary group that was sponsoring you, the Pituitary World News, they did a contest to name your bike.
Yes.
What name did they end up giving you for your bike?
So the name Moxie won, and if you look up Moxie, I forget the exact definition of it, but it's something like to have grit and determination.
Hmm.
So my bike's name became Moxie, and
Very nice.
yes,
It's one of those I always like to call those like an old-timey word. It's
yes,
kind of fallen out of use, but I like them.
yes, agreed.
Now, that wasn't the only thing that got named, though.
Correct.
What else got a name?
My tumor got a name.
And how did you come up with that?
So, my boss and mentor, who also has been working in the modality of Gestalt for decades. I'm someone who lives more in a realistic world, and she's kind of more in this. I don't even know how to describe it. She views the world differently, and she said to me one day, Rissa, what if you started talking nicer to your body? And instead of cursing it, I don't know, what if you named your tumor and started encouraging your tumor to go on retirement once you get your surgery? And I remember thinking that is just ridiculous. That's the most absurd thing I heard. And one day I found myself in the car trying it on. I start talking to my tumor, and I thought, okay, well, if you had a name, what would it be? And I started trying on all these names, but the one that stuck is Bubba.
I love that. Now, where did the tutus come in?
Oh my gosh. Yes. When I started radiation treatment, I decided this was one of the most difficult decisions to get radiation treatment for
Hmm.
me. My body was just so sacred to me, and now I was going to poison it,
Yeah.
and that was such a big, difficult decision for me to make. And I decided, okay, if I'm going to go in, I'm going to go in with an open mind, and I decided I was going to wear a Wonder Woman costume to radiation treatments. And so I created a red t-shirt with the Wonder Woman logo decal on the front, and then I got a royal blue tutu and sewed stars all over it. And that's what I wore to radiation treatment. And then I started thinking, you know what? Like, I'm not gonna just wear a tutu to radiation treatment. Like, I want to wear tutus all the time,
Hmm.
like every day if I can. And I started wearing them biking, even when I was just out on training rides, and it just made people smile. And one time I wore a tutu to the gym, and someone was like, "Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do that. Like I've always." It was almost like she needed permission to have a tutu, and so I gave her my tutu, and so
Oh,
suddenly, yeah, suddenly I started just collecting tutus and handing them out to people who, I don't know, needed a tutu.
yeah. I love that. You seem to have like a nice collection because there's a couple of photos that you sent me that you have tutus on, and they are so cute.
Yes.
So now that you have your book out, what do you plan to do next?
Well, it's funny. It's like I have all these ideas and yet I don't know.
Hmm.
But I've been working on my second book for quite a while now, but that got put on hold because I am just about to hit send on submitting my screenplay for the Road Unpaved. And
Nice.
yes, and that has taken up much more time than I could ever have imagined. It's a whole different realm, and I had no idea what I was signing up for when I decided to embark on the screenwriting journey.
I don't think a lot of people realize how different the writing is for that.
Yes, yes. And my creative writing style keeps wanting to squeeze in there some detail that just doesn't go into a screenplay.
Hmm.
So it's been a challenge, and there's a lot of layers to it when you're working in that world of production. That feels exciting, and I have a TEDx talk coming up at the end of August, and I'm extremely excited for that. And I really love the art of storytelling and speaking. And so I'm working on some projects around that as well.
Now, I believe you have this in audiobook too, don't you?
I do, in which I narrated, yes.
How hard was it for you to do the recording for your own book?
Oh my gosh. Yes, that was also difficult. And it was actually such a journey through the process, which I'm sure you understand. I kind of start off very rigid, and by the end I was more relaxed and almost more into my character. But we purposely left it that way because it kind of followed the story of
Yeah, I was going to
me.
say the way that your story goes, that fits your narrative.
Yes. Yeah, it was a fun experience. Once I understood it and got the hang of it, I really enjoyed it.
So now seems like a good time to do our 5 quick questions that never turn out to be quick, but I refuse to give up. Are you ready?
Yes.
Question 1. Since you have spent so much time doing bike rides on long rides, what is your favorite snack that you do to keep your energy up on your rides?
Oh gosh, I would have to say strawberry fig bars.
Ooh, that sounds good. I love figs.
Yes.
Question 2. Is there a soundtrack or a song that you like to listen to when you're having a rough ride somewhere?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah, what motivates you?
I would have to say the one song that always gets me up wanting to dance is Starry-Eyed Surprise by Paul Oakenfold.
Wow, I don't think I know that one. I'm gonna have to look that up later.
You might know it if you hear it, yeah.
I may have to put a link to that in your description of the podcast.
Oh, it's so fun. You can't not get up and dance to it.
Question 3. If you could ride with anybody who is living in history or a fictional character, who would you want to go on a bike ride with?
This might be out of, I don't know, this might be a weird answer, but David Bowie.
Oh, I don't think that's weird.
I, he such a creative. I
Uh-huh.
would love to understand his brain and his mind and how he views the world. And I think we would have so much fun.
Oh, I think that's a great answer.
Don't you think we'd both be wearing tutus?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
definitely. So, question 4. I know you have gotten to ride through all different kinds of landscapes. You've been through mountains and on seasides and meadows. So, which landscape do you enjoy and just like relax in that moment?
I would have to say, I'm going to think back to, yes, my gosh, I've been through so much different terrain. I'm going to have to go back to actually a moment on the Pacific Coast tour, riding through the redwoods.
Oh,
And there were no cars on the road, and it was just, one of the small scenic roads going through these magnificent trees, and it's so quiet, and there's rays of sunlight breaking through the canopy and beaming down onto the forest floor. And I have to say, that's one of the moments where I remember I felt so at peace and so humbled.
that
It
sounds
was magic.
amazing.
Yeah, it was magic.
Now, for everyone this year, they're getting the same question because I'm creating a author recommendation reading list to go into our year-end book buying guide. So when somebody asks you, who is an author I should read? Who is the first person that you think of?
Oh my gosh, this is an impossible answer. But I'll have to say the first book that comes to mind is The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff. Yeah, and I I don't even know what to say about it except for I would love to embody Pooh more in my life.
I can definitely understand that. I love that book. So now remind everybody again who you are and where they can find your book.
Yes, my name is Risa August, and you can find all about my goings on at Risa August, RISA August, just like the month.com. And you can find my book on Amazon or order it from most any bookstore. I also give several options on my website as well.
And as always, we're going to have all of your information and links to your social media in the description of today's podcast so everybody can click and go and find you very easily.
Thank you, Diane. This was so wonderful. I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to be here.
I had been looking forward to this so long. I am so glad we got this done.
Me too. Thank you.
So there you have it, folks. My interview with the amazing Risa August. Be sure to go to her website, check out everything that she's involved in because this woman is just such a dynamo. She has really taken her personal challenges and turned it into an entire new life and calling for herself. And she is doing some amazing stuff. You really need to go follow this woman, support her, help bring more attention to all of her efforts to get this condition out into the world so that people know more about it. There are so many times and so many people that I've talked to whenever I've been discussing my own neurological issues that they say, if I'd only gotten that MRI earlier, if I'd only gotten this one blood test earlier, I would have been getting treatment so much sooner. It would have been so much easier for me to recover from this. People need to talk about these kinds of things. People also need to start asking more of their doctors. There is a reason why it's called practicing medicine, because nobody knows everything. There are doctors out there who are considered experts in their field, but even they are learning new things every day with new developments, new tests, new treatments. We need to keep talking and telling people to discuss these things. Keep researching, keep trying, but definitely keep asking for those basic diagnostic tests so that you can get all the information that you might need to take care of yourself, your family, and your future. So now go check out risaaugust.com. It's RISAAUGUST, and check out her book, check out her work, and give her some love. Now, if you have seen any of my little manic life vlogs lately, you'll know I'm kind of laid up right now. I snuck out of bed to come and record this, and I'm going to be going back in there before my husband comes home from work. But I'm going to know more by August 15th. I will have had my own MRIs by then and will have seen my orthopedic doctor, and I'll know how things are going to be going from that point. But just to let you know, I'm doing very good at keeping up with getting the podcast broadcast on time. Luckily, all of the interviews that I need through the end of September are done. So the only thing that I have to keep up with is editing, and I can actually do that laying in bed with my laptop. I only have to come in to record the intro and the outgo, and everything else is taken care of, so it only means I have to be out of bed for a little while. But the one thing that is suffering is some of my promotional videos and things like that, because I just can't seem to get things to work correctly from the laptop, and it takes a lot of time. So trying to get in here and be up at the computer to do some of the stuff is not possible at this time. And a lot of the problem is most of my computers are 10 years or older, and they just don't do the things that they need to do. So hopefully here, by the end of the year, I'm going to be able to upgrade a lot of these computer things. And if something like this ever happens again, I can do most, if not all of it, from the laptops. But I definitely need to replace my computer equipment. If you'd like to help with that, we do have a Buy Me a Coffee page, which you can find at the bottom of the description of the podcast for every podcast episode that we have. There are also free ways that you can help promote us and help get us some more attention so that maybe we can get money in from other ways. So be sure to talk to people about this podcast. Share this podcast information on your own social media. Just getting us some more attention might help us to find other ways to bring in some more income and be able to replace all the computer equipment so I can do a better job for all of you. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and save this because I'm starting to lose my voice again. And I will see you all next week when we will be chatting with Alison Bader-Solway about her memoir, The Miles We Run, Lessons from the Arena of Resilience. If you loved today's episode, you do not want to miss our interview next week. So you know what time it is, folks. It's time for you all to go forth and find something to be happy about.